Well, yesterday we left Job having been crushed by all of the tragedies, loss, and pain that has been inflicted on him by Satan. But even more than that, we saw the infliction of pain and suffering by three friends. They made things worse for him. And it seemed like it was progressive. Seems like Eliphaz was the most tactful, even though he accused Job of having been wicked and therefore was getting what he deserved. Bildad, who jumped right on that theory and said that it has to be the wicked that get punished and that Job obviously had been wicked. With the least amount of tact is Zophar. Zophar not only attacks Job's integrity and his morality and his goodness, righteousness, but he also calls him an idiot, a foal of a donkey, born to man, and belittles him, saying, you don't know anything about God, you don't know anything about anything, and you're definitely inferior to me. But if you would just repent, then you might find what you need. Application, of course, was that all three of these friends should have remembered the original task that they came to Job for, to comfort, to grieve with him, and to try to uplift him, not tear him down. When we come to chapters 12 and 13, we find Job's response to his three friends, but particularly to the Zophar's remarks. And he says, I'm not inferior to you. And if you guys think that your wisdom is so great, it will die with you. He certainly says, if you could just see all that God is and all that God does, then you might be a little bit wiser than what you are. God sees and he hears and he knows. Once again, Job demonstrates that although God doesn't explain himself to Job, Job still believes that God is sovereign, that God is in every way God. And yet he still wants to know why. He still wants to know why these things are happening to him. And who could blame him? When bad things happen to good people, shouldn't they be asking why? Why is God either causing this or allowing this to happen in my life? But Job sums it up in a wonderful phrase that I hope that I'll always have the courage to be able to speak when things don't go my way. Though he slay me, I will hope in him. Though he slay me, I will hope in him. But Job goes on and says, nevertheless, I'll argue my ways before him. Job says, I don't understand it. And even if he slays me, I'll trust in him. But I'm still going to ask him why. I'm still going to try to figure out why all of this is happening to me. So as we look at Job in this 2 chapters of response, we need to remember that he is in pain physically. He's in pain mentally. He's in pain because of loss and grief. And he's in pain because his friends have turned against him. Job requests just 2 things. Lord, remove your hand from me. And don't let me dread you such a place where I'm terrified by you. But the thing that you need to remember in verse 20 of chapter 13 is that Job is still talking to God. It's important that we continue to talk to him, particularly when we don't understand all that's going on. For in due time, God usually reveals to us the reasons for. So some of you may remember some of the cartoons when you thought you loved somebody in your early days, maybe a teenager or even a child, and then you came back later and you saw who they turned out to be or what they turned out to look like, and you said, I'm glad I missed that boat. Yeah, Job recognizes that he needs to continue to talk to God. And he just wished that God would let up on him a little bit. And he wishes that God would not terrify him. It's as if Job's talking to God in those verses towards the end of the chapter. Tell me my sin, God. Tell me why I'm stuck in this terrible predicament. And as he looks at those scraped boils and rotting flesh, he says, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Why, God? Why is this happening to me? So how do we apply this to our lives today? Well, if you look at the conversation that Job now has with his three friends, but even more particularly with Zophar, don't ever let your conversation turn into confrontation. I've allowed that to happen too many times in my life, where when someone was curt or short with me or hurt me in some way, I was curt and short back with them. That's a terrible mistake when you let your conversation turn into confrontation. You're going to have to just learn to disagree agreeably. Never lower yourself to your enemy's speech. When your enemy speaks to you in such a way that it's antagonistic, as Zophar's talk was with Job, and I'm going to just adjust this light just a second here. If you allow yourself to lower yourself to those that attack you, you've become no better than they. Talk to God even when you're angry, even when you're sad, even when you don't understand. Talk to God. That's a lesson that we should all learn from Job. Not the patience of Job, but the endurance of Job. The endurance through all of this and continuing to talk to him through all of this. Job certainly had reason to say, why God? And that's demonstrated to us clearly in the text that we read here. Ron Dunn wrote a book not too long ago, probably 10 or 15 years ago. And he said, don't ask why, but ask what now. I think that's probably a pretty good lesson to learn. Sometimes we don't get the answer to the whys, but we just need to look forward to what do I do now? When sometimes my conversation has turned into confrontation, and sometimes when I find that we have to agree to disagree, I have to look ahead. Instead of lowering myself into that confrontation, I need to look ahead and say, okay, what do I do now? I can't change what's happened, and I may not get an answer for why. But what action would you have me take now? What now, Lord? Maybe that's a question you need to ask yourself. What now, Lord? If you can't get an answer to the why, then why not ask the question, what do you want me to do next? And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day. Sorry about the light dropping.